Today, we're going to dive into the headlines and talk about this study. More older adults are unretiring to keep up with the cost of living. A new survey from AARP shows more retirees are heading back to work. In the past 6 months, 7% of retirees have re-entered the labor force. What does this increase tell you about how fragile many retirement plans actually are?
Boy, it is so important to have a good plan that is stress tested to make sure that any changes could be adjusted on a regular basis. What we
Mhm.
have found is that one of the things that we see that it might have looked fine on paper 5 to 10 years ago, but it's not holding up anymore because
Right.
they're not changing. And so one of the keys that we look at is you've got to stress test all the 5 key areas to make sure, which are critical for a very successful retirement. And that's
Mhm.
investment, that is taxes, that's income, that's legacy planning, and healthcare. And if you look
Right.
at those 5 key areas and stress test them and they make it positive, then you're going to have a very successful long-term plan that could
Exactly. Right. Yeah, those
do
5 key areas, that makes up the plan. It's so much more than just a number in the bank. I'm glad you brought that
everything.
up. On that note, nearly half of unretirees, 48%, say they return to work because of financial necessity, and 41% say daily living costs were their biggest motivation. So you mentioned stress testing their retirement plan. So how do you stress test for inflation so that clients aren't forced back to work?
That's really important. We stress test a lot of times inflation. When I look at the older plans that we've seen, they're really basically a cookie cutter aspect. And
Right.
so we
Mhm.
look and not moving averages, we kind of stress test at least 3 key areas. We look at what the base plan is, which is like 2%, and then we kind of elevate that and we move it up to about 5 to 6%. And we say, well, what does your income look like? How can it stay? How is it impacted? And then we do what we go to the next level, which we shock it, and we shock it at about 7% going for 3 years. That really looks at how strong is your plan, how strong is your income, what are some of the taxes that are impeding that. So what are you doing to improve upon that? So we really
Mhm.
look at that overall plan and stress test it to make sure that your income will last as long as you want and the lifestyle that you were looking for. Because one
Yeah.
of our mission and our mission statement when you walk into our office is to ensure our clients ensure that they have the lives that they want and not think about the money.
Yeah, good point. So the survey also found 67% of older workers say it would be difficult to find a new job today, citing age discrimination and health issues. From a planning perspective, how dangerous is it for retirees to assume they can simply go back to work if markets fall or expenses rise?
I think you're heading for a very dangerous outlook, your plan B. A lot of times we've had your plan has got to be strong enough to make sure you only retire once. And so what we're looking at is making sure that happens. You certainly don't want to keep going back to uh, look at that aspect of going back to work because you're looking at all the variables that could potentially happen to you at your age.
Hmm. Hmm. Right. So, last question. I was surprised about this stat. 15% who unretired said boredom was the main reason. 14% said it was to stay active. How does choosing to return to work change a client's income plan and withdrawal strategies?
Well, the way we look at it is that working is a choice, uh, or working can be a part of your plan. If it's a choice, you're looking at a very positive outcome on your retirement. If it's part of your plan, then it needs to support it. And so the difference to those two is that if it's supporting it, then we got to look at a more defensive aspect of how your income looks at the overall program in your plan to making sure that you
Hmm.
have enough to cover the essentials and making sure your income can
Hmm.
do that. On the other
Right.
side, is it it's a choice? You want to make sure that that is a vocation that you love and people want to be excited about something very different that they can add value to their lives.
Exactly. Choosing to work is so empowering. Well, Frank, I feel like the magic word I heard you say over and over again is having that plan, that stress tested plan. So if somebody would like to sit down with you, make sure that they only retire once and don't have to unretire, what's the
Yeah.
best way to reach you?
You can reach us on the phone, which is 480-581-8545, or you can go on our email. It's frank@rileyhiggins.net.
Perfect. Frank, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.